Trina, let's
Yes.
do this.
All right.
So packing light is the departure point for our talk. What does packing light mean to you, Trina?
Packing light to me brings, like you have there on your opening slide, carry-on size suitcase and a day bag, ideally. And what I mean by day bag, I actually have one here because I am in the middle of major transition travel. I'll be out for 2 months traveling, and I've got my day bag, which is my backpack, and a carry-on size suitcase. But we'll get into whether I carry it on or not. What about you, Reiner?
Yeah, so I fully agree. You know, you and I are both well trained. We came into the industry sort of taught by Rick Steves, who famously evangelizes traveling light. And so that means, yeah, one carry-on suitcase and a day bag for your entire trip. Now, the key to this is, that if you're going to be longer than 1 week out away from home, that you're just going to bring clothes for 1 week and you'll just expect to do laundry. Now, whether that means that you pay the hotel laundry service to have your laundry done during a hotel stay, or if you embrace the cultural experience of going to the local laundromat where you'll meet fascinating people for sure while your clothes are drying, you can do that as well. Either way, the idea is that you're not necessarily bringing an outfit per day
Exactly.
of your trip.
Yes.
And that's how you fit everything into one carry-on size bag. Now, for guided by tours, we of course encourage people to travel light, and the reason why is because traveling light just makes you nimble on your feet. It's less stressful. It allows you to navigate easily to wherever you're going. However, if people just need to bring a bit more in a standard size suitcase or something, they certainly can. This is not a hard and fast rule. I'm a big fan of, once you know the rules, you can break them.
Sure.
And in fact, I break them all the time myself, because guess what? I can't travel in a carry-on size suitcase very often. Usually I bring a standard size suitcase. So that's just how it goes. That's how I roll. But I know what to expect. And I know that by bringing a bigger bag, that I am responsible for carrying it around.
Yeah.
And, a rule of thumb, I think, Trina, is on your suitcase size is, whatever bag you're bringing, okay, grab it, pack it at home, fill it full of books or something, I don't know, pack it at home, walk upstairs, walk downstairs, walk through the kitchen, walk out the back porch in the backyard, around the side of the house, dragging your bag down the street, up the driveway and around back up into the front of the house, go on a little journey. And if at the end of it, you're still happy, then that's the bag for you. And that's the one you should bring.
Yep.
Right?
Right. Yeah. And for me, I always have to think, am I going to be able to lift this bag up over my head?
Yeah.
If I need to put it in a train compartment, am I going to be able to carry it up the stairs? Right.
Yeah.
So I think about the weight as well. And so I know pretty well now that if I pick up a suitcase and I can lift it up pretty easily, then I know it's under 40 pounds and it's underweight. Now, as we said in the announcement about this is going to be a talk that includes some debate. And Reiner likes to bring a bigger suitcase. I think that would be luxurious to have that much space. But for me, I bring a carry-on size suitcase, which I expand and I check, and we're going to get into checking or not checking. But if I had a suitcase the size of the suitcase that you're rolling around with there, Reiner, if it was fully loaded, I don't know that I'd be able to pick it up. So that's one of the limits on me, and that's one of the reasons why I carry the carry-on size suitcase.
Fair enough. I mean, really, everybody's got to determine what works best for them, and so for sure, folks, I've traveled before, and everybody, I think, has a general idea of, what kind of bag they need. Now, I think that this talk is going to very quickly sound like an infomercial for Briggs and Riley. I both agree, hard agree on the Briggs and Riley suitcase. This is our favorite, as you can see here, but this is a good example of whatever bag you have, plus your day bag. Good little tip is to make sure you have that luggage loop so you can lash 2 bags together and to take weight off of your body and put it onto wheels that are then dragging around. Before we get to wheels, which we very much want to talk about, one big issue that guides, the suitcase choice that you make to bring when you travel is, are you going to be checking a bag or carrying on? Trina, your thoughts?
Okay, I check my bag in. I'm traveling with a carry-on size bag, but it is expanded. Now that's me going to Europe for 2 months, right? Now, if I was just going to go somewhere for a week, okay, that might be a little bit less. And I'm also traveling cross seasons. So again, if I'm just traveling somewhere for a couple weeks in the summertime, that's a different situation. But I usually have my suitcase expanded and I check it in. But I'm always really careful to bring at least a few days worth of clothing in case it does get lost. And I see that you have a statistic there about 1% of airline luggage is delayed or lost. I was just talking with a guide colleague of mine this morning, and she espouses checking a bag, but also she wanted to give the caveat of making sure that you have everything with you that you really need or would be upset to lose. Obviously, medication, that's an obvious one, but also something like a journal or something that maybe you would think to put in there. But if you lost it, if it never showed up again, that you have it with you.
Good tips.
And you?
I do both. Just depends on the circumstance. A lot of people think that it's, if you've packed light and you're in a carry-on size bag, that you should carry that on the way over, just because it's far more inconvenient if in the unlikely event that your bag doesn't arrive with you in your destination, that if you don't have it, it's far more inconvenient on the front end of your trip when you're in a new place than when you're returning home.
Yeah.
So that's.
And it's quicker. You're more nimble if you don't check it. That's absolutely true. Agreed.
Yeah, right. You have less time to have to wait.
Agreed. It looks like Jorge has a comment.
Okay, we have to start here with the point that, ladies, you do have so much advantage with your clothes.
Do we really?
Yeah. I mean, we are very limited. I mean, a pair of trousers, a pair of jeans, which is, you can wear it for 3 or 4 days in a row. That's weights a lot. So we have to wear that when we're traveling. Then if you use a foulard or a large shawl, you can use it as a skirt at a moment. You can use it to go into a cathedral. You are using just a t-shirt over your shoulders. You can use it as a scarf as you're using it now if it's cold or chilly outside. You have so much advantage. And also ladies wear the fabrics are so much wrinkleless than men. Okay.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, with 3 or 4 pieces, you can run out for a week, changing every day the outfit. Maybe one skirt in one color. And if it is summer, it's very light. So you can get in your fist. So that is nothing in a carry-on. So let's start from that point. And about packing, I do agree with you, Trina, regarding the sometimes when we are traveling, especially we tour guides, not as a holiday members or tour members in a group, we are going to places that in some areas is warmer than it is in some others. So we have to think very carefully. To me, the Cuban packs, there are life saviors, and also I totally agree with if you're going to check in any luggage, just put clothes in it, nothing essential, nothing absolutely essential like medicines. That's very important. So we are reaching an age that I take a pill in the morning or in the evening or something like that. That is essential. And of course, it has to be, and this is just to tip everything that you're mentioning, in the original packaging. Don't get an empty jar. And although you know which pill is for whatever, you might have, if you're crossing borders, you might have problems. So that's my focus, just going through the medication and your journal, your electronics. Look, I have here this backpack. This is my office, my mobile office. I travel, okay? And also here, I have one of those little duffel bags. This is now full, but when it's empty, okay, you can see that when it's empty, it just gets inside of my fist, and that can fit in any corner. And use it on a daily basis when you are in your destination. Then when you're returning back home, just put everything absolutely in the same position as it was if it is in a roller, right? And my very special and most valuable thing that I've learned in all these years of traveling is that, okay, you're traveling, you don't have time to go to the laundrette, and you're going just for a week outside. Okay, you're lucky enough to fit all that clothes that you need in your roller. Pack everything exactly the same. If they were fresh clothes, exactly in the same position as they were when you're returning, even if they're dirty. That is very important, because it seems that the volume grows up when you are using those clothes, and
Absolutely.
you bought nothing, but you still have the same, but you have no room in your bag. So pack everything absolutely tidy, and I mean, not tidy, I mean just flat, and like if it were just fresh clothes. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Jorge.
We are going to get into packing cubes here in a second.
Yes,
That's
we
going to be
will.
a hot topic for sure. But okay, here we got photos of both Trina and I with our cargo. Trina, light and nimble, and I'm hauling a little bit more. But yeah, to Jorge's point, good to have a second bag that is that collapses down, can be sort of folded up and turned into very small volume and stuffed inside your bag as an extra. I like to come over with gifts. This is a picture of me arriving in Rome. And, I like to come with that bag full of things to give people here, and then empty it out and bring back goodies, which we'll see here in a second. So, all right, type of suitcase, Trina.
All right. So here's where we get into it, but unfortunately, there's not much debate because Rainer and I both vote 2 wheels versus 4 wheels, and we will make our case for that because probably some of you are rolling around with 4 wheels, and that's okay in certain circumstances. But the other topic is the international versus American carry-on size. It's really important if you're going to be hopping around in Europe or in other countries that you're aware that the U.S. carry-on size is different than what's allowed in the rest of the world. One more slide forward, Rainer, and
Okay.
it will show. There you go. So there you can see those are my 2 suitcases at home, and you can see the tall one, the red one. That's an American carry-on size. The other one, both Briggs and Riley, like Rainer and I said, this is going to be an infomercial for Briggs and Riley, and we can tell you why. But the darker one there is a European carry-on size. Now the volume interior is the same. Okay, so you're not sacrificing space to have the international size. It's wider than it. So the American one is taller, and the European one is wider. So if you're at the luggage store, you can take a look and compare that yourself. But just be aware that if you are changing planes or something and you're just carrying on, that your U.S. carry-on may not fit in the overhead of the European, and they may make you check it.
Exactly. Totally agree, Trina. And now talking about 2 wheels versus 4, there's some specific reasons why both Trina and I are in agreement here about 2 wheels instead of 4. Now, 4 wheels have become very, very popular. They're, I think, by far the majority of this choice. They're very convenient for pushing along on the smooth, veneered tile floors of an airport, right? They roll along just beautifully, and it doesn't take much effort to push them along. Whereas two wheels, you got to tip the thing and then drag it or push it, whatever the case may be. But as Jorge has said here in the comments, we all agree that the two wheels is a much more secure suitcase. And if you are traveling anything like we do, where you've got to go to the train station, you got to drag your bag across a parking lot, or you're landing in Venice and you've got to get off the boat and then walk a few blocks to your hotel up and over a bridge, you're dragging your suitcase over the mean streets of wherever you're going. And that can be, cobblestones, it can be brick, it can be big stone pavers, it can potholes and gaps in the asphalt sidewalk, it can be broken curbs, it can be, lots of little steps up and down. And you've got all these obstacles that potentially are have to be navigated by your back. And so for four wheels, the way those wheels are built, they are a little bit more vulnerable, I think, to the wear and tear of dragging your suitcase over streets. Trina, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I have carried just because I had to. Did travel on tour with a wheeled bag one time. This story I will tell later if you want to, because my other Briggs & Riley two-wheel got partially destroyed and I had to get another suitcase. So, but within within one trip, the wheel was broken off. Okay. And so it's just the stability of the suitcase. But the other thing about it is that you lose room, you lose space, because those wheels count in the measure of the carry-on size. And
Right.
And so those stick out, and you're losing a couple of inches of very valuable space in the interior of your suitcase.
Right.
Now, my husband Robert just asked a question, which is kind of interesting because he's traveled with me to Europe, so I'm not sure. But he said, what if you're traveling in the US and Europe? Which would I take, the international size or the US carry-on size? It depends. If I'm traveling a lot in Europe and I want to have a carry-on size bag and I want to carry it on the plane, then I'm going to pack a European carry-on size. But if I'm just going to check my bag when I'm hopping around Europe or internationally, then it doesn't matter, because I'm checking it. It's only if you're going to be carrying on your bag in those international flights that you need to have the international size. And Tim had his hand up, or Rainer, maybe you have a comment. I'm not sure.
Tim, you want to chime in?
Chime in.
I don't know. Do I? Everything is going so well with Guided By It, and all fell apart when we started talking about luggage. But I just
we
just
love to talk about luggage. This is what we do when we get together. We talk about luggage.
Just as devil's advocate for the four-wheel people, I do think I've heard people say they like it because it's easier to get on the plane between the rows. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But the other one is especially when you just arrive, or if you come into a new place and you're kind of stunned, especially if you're jet lagged. In Europe, in the popular sites, the pickpockets go right for people with bags. And with a two-wheel, it's usually behind you because you kind of got to drag it. A four-wheel, you can have next to you in front of you, so you're a little safe from pickpockets. But just to really screw things up, I'm a fan of no wheels. I'm team backpack all the way. I don't know or else you just stop there. But if you want to get into team backpack, we'll schedule another thing for it.
Okay.
Given how many dogs there are on the sidewalks of Europe, if you're ready for a backpack, that's all I'm saying.
Excellent point. Thank you, Tim.
World traveler Tim Tindick in his back. Yeah. That
good point.
Apropos. Yeah. Well, All right. Well, ultimately people go with whatever they're most comfortable with. But for those of us that are trying to squeeze out a little bit of extra volume, I think you get a few extra cubic inches out of the two-wheel bag, because the wheels, the axle of the wheel goes through the frame of the suitcase, as opposed to the four wheels, which are attached to the bottom and have to stick out quite a bit more, forcing those wheels to be smaller and then easier to break.
Wait a minute, don't change your slide. Go back, Rainer. I knew you were going to change that slide. One other aspect of the suitcases that we have here, the suitcase on the right is the Travel Pro, and that's a highly regarded, just so that we're not completely a Briggs & Riley infomercial. But the Travel Pro there is a very highly rated suitcase, and that's the one that you'll see the flight attendants and the crew of your airlines are carrying around the Travel Pro. So it's a very highly regarded two-wheel bag. But the one on the left-hand side, the other difference between it being wheels versus four wheels versus two, is that we have kind of the soft side on the right. It still has structure, as you can see. You could go with the backpack like what Tim is talking about, and then you just have really no structure or very little structure. But on the left-hand side there, you have the hard case. And a lot of people like the hard case, and they will say, oh, but it is going to protect my belongings even better. I don't know about you, but I got a great luggage guy in Hawaii. If you ever come to Hawaii and you want somebody to inspect or fix your luggage, I got a guy. So anyway, so he and I love to sit around whenever I bring my suitcase in, and my suitcase gets a checkup. But we talk about luggage. And he says that those hard shell ones, the issue with those is that they get thrown around at the airport, and they can crack or they can get chipped. And this is a guy who repairs luggage professionally. So he says, unless you're going to go really high end with the metal ones, the plastic ones, some are not necessarily as secure as you might think. Okay, I've said my 2 cents. I go with
Trina,
soft side. Yep.
Trina, we bow down to you. We respect you so much. You're a brilliant guide and brilliant colleague, but mostly we respect you because you have a luggage guy.
I got a luggage guy.
She has a luggage guy. Anybody that has a luggage guy knows what they're talking about. So,
and he knows what luggage gets broken.
So there you go. All right. Well, we have the clamshell version versus the lid version. The away bag is very popular. That's a hard-sided clamshell. So 2 equal halves that open up with the zipper down the middle of the width or the thickness, I guess, of the bag. I'm not a fan of that because it forces you to kind of pack both halves equally. They tend to also have a lot of sort of gadgetry and stuff inside the bag, straps and bells and whistles that you have to navigate. For me, I prefer just one big volume, and I'll fill it however I need to fill it. Trina, what do you think?
I am with you on that, and I don't know of any hotel that I'm staying in that has kind of some place that I can open up a clamshell suitcase like that for me to be able to easily get in and out of it. I don't like to put my suitcase on the bed. So here's a lady, very nicely packing. Yes, a Briggs & Riley suitcase.
Yeah, okay.
But you can see that is just opening one side. So that's
all right. Let's move on. Packing cubes, yay or nay, Trina?
All right. I go with yay. Can we move on to the next slide with the packing cubes?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows
what are packing cubes.
Here's what packing cubes are. Different sizes. They help you organize. I need a lot of help with organization with my luggage. And so I like them because for one reason, and I know Reiner's argument because we've had this before, so I know where he's going to bash me on this. But one thing that's nice about the packing cubes is that if I've got cold weather stuff, because I'm traveling across seasons, or if I'm going up to altitude and I'm going down to the beach or something, I can put my beach stuff in one cube. I can put my cold weather stuff in another cube, and I can kind of stick them on the bottom of my suitcase and not think about it. So I like packing cubes. Counterpoint, Rainer.
Well, packing cubes, of course, very popular. They help keep people organized, and you get them in various sizes, and you put different stuff in each one, and then you put them in your suitcases. Some of them actually come with compression, or you can like roll the air out of them, and so you can actually get them, down into the smallest volume possible, which allows you to put more packing cubes into your suitcase. I'm not a fan. I tried them long ago, and I found them to be kind of fussy, and I found myself having to pack each packing cube and then pack my suitcase. And every time I arrived somewhere, I'd have to unpack and then repack them later. And I just found them to be very fussy and sort of sucking up a lot of time. So what I've been using for the last, I don't know, 10 plus years is, instead of packing cubes, I use this thing is a hanging closet. And this is my one gadget. I'm not a big travel gadget person. I like to kind of have less. For me, less is more. So this is the one gadget, though, that is my strongest recommendation. It's a hanging closet. You can buy these from anywhere from 30 to 50 bucks. And it is a thing that has two lashes with hooks on them that hang on a rod inside of a closet, so that you can unbuckle this thing and it drops down, and you have these very lightweight shelves for keeping your clothes packed and organized. I find this works much better than packing cubes for me personally, because it saves me time. Basically, keeping my clothes organized when I unpack and pack is kind of done for me by this device, because it works both as an organizer inside the suitcase. It fits perfectly inside. And then I hang it in the closet, and it takes me 2 seconds and I'm unpacked. I hang the thing and I undo the buckles and it drops down. It's very satisfying, actually, when it drops down. It makes a noise, bonk. And then all your clothes are right there. And so the time that I spend organizing during my stay is the time that would otherwise be spent packing the morning of departure. And for me, every minute is special when I travel. So if this thing saves me 10 minutes of packing time where I don't have to like fuss with the cubes, then I spend that time on a morning walk or having a second cappuccino or whatever. For me, it's a time issue. So
all right, Jorge wants to check and respect. I told Robert about this. I showed him that slide this morning, and he was very intrigued. So I may be ending up purchasing one of these. We may be trying that out. So yeah, I think that looks really interesting. And I agree with you about the time. And Jorge had a comment.
Jorge.
Hello again. Rainer, I really love that thing. I nearly bought one of those a few years ago when I saw it. And remember when I mentioned earlier about the packing cubes, that obviously I just said up front about the packing cubes, which I didn't know you were going to talk about it. But anyway, the trick to have everything perfectly organized with the packing cubes is, doesn't matter the size. I'm going to talk about the big one, the one that fits a shirt already folded and t-shirts, etc., etc. I can pack in a standard big one size up to 20, either shirts, t-shirts. I mean, if it is winter clothing, obviously it's thicker, maybe less. But the trick is to take with you another one exactly the same but empty. So what happens is, when you use one outfit and you're going to use another one the day after, just fold it properly and put it in the empty one. So you're not making more volume. You still have the volume, but you're separating the dirty laundry from the fresh clothes. And it occupies exactly the same when you put them in the bag. Get my point?
I hear you, Jorge. That sounds good. I feel Team Packing Cube coming for me. I know that I'm definitely in the minority on this one for sure. And Paul, yeah, you're right. This is one big packing cube.
That's
It's sort
kind of a
packing
philosophical question,
power.
really.
Right? Yes.
True.
Just two
Excellent
buckles and
point,
the thing
Paul.
goes. Beautiful. Brilliant. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
All
Everybody.
right, let's move on. And I can tell you that when guides get together and over a glass of wine, this is the kind of stuff we talk about.
Really fascinating.
Okay.
All right. What to bring?
Hey, there is my floor in my room dedicated to packing before I left for this trip. Let me just show you. I'm not going to belabor this because it is kind of embarrassing, but you can see my suitcase there that's open. You can see a bunch of macadamia nuts because I'm going to Italy. And what can I bring to Italians? Like Rainer, I like to bring gifts to people. If you're just traveling to a place where you don't know people, that's a different thing. But what can I bring to Italians? I'm not going to bring them chocolate because their chocolate is amazing. I'm not going to bring them coffee because their coffee is amazing. So no Kona coffee. I'm going to bring them macadamia nuts because they don't have them over there and they love them. So this is where I start with my packing. I, got everything all spread out, and you probably have a similar version like that. Let's go on to the next slide, Rainer. I'm going to move through these quickly. But when I'm thinking about packing, and I think Jorge makes some excellent questions about women versus men in terms of the complications of both. Men, the one point you didn't make, Jorge, is that now you're a tall guy. I know how big you are. And you guys, all of you, regardless of your height, your shoes are going to take up a lot more room in your suitcase than mine, right? A lot more. My husband would have to take just to carry 3 pairs of shoes. So what I try to do, though, is when I'm thinking about kind of what I'm going to pack is I start with my feet. And I've got to have shoes that I can walk in all day, regardless of whether they're kind of dressier shoes or not. And these are my 4 pairs of shoes that I'm bringing with me. You can see I got, because I'm going cross season, I have on the bottom there, those are my 2 pairs of dress shoes for cold or warm weather. And my 2 pairs of walking anywhere shoes are a good pair of sturdy gym shoes. And Tevas are fantastic travel shoes for me. Let's move on from there, Rainer. And then the key is layering. I get asked this question all the time. Trina, you're going away for 2 months. What do you pack? How do you do that? Or, living out of a suitcase. And it gets back to that philosophical statement that Rainer made at the beginning. And that is, I'm not packing outfits for 2 months. I'm not wearing something different every day. I'm layering. And that's how I get through the different seasons. So I've got a t-shirt under a cardigan sweater, under a puffy jacket, underneath a shell, and that's as layered up as I can get. Right now I am wearing, you can see my arm, this is my one long sleeve t-shirt that I'm bringing on this trip. The rest of them are short sleeve because they're going underneath. And the skirts and the pants all have to go together. Now, Rainer's showing this because, of course, it's important to pack your outlets and cords and all that kind of stuff. That stuff, for the most part, goes in the carry-on with me on the plane, because if I lose my charging cords, I'm in trouble. And we're going to get to tips and tricks, but this is also going in one of those bags. If you look in the blue one, you'll see it. This is a little, candy bar size additional charger. Many of you probably already have one of those, but this was a gift, and it's wonderful because I got about 4 cell phone charges out of that. But you do have to carry it on. You can't check it in your suitcase. Let's go on, Rainer. All right, and Jorge had a comment about quick drying clothes, and I love this. I love this comment. If you bring clothes that are just all cotton, it take a long time to dry if you were to do any laundry in the sink, which sometimes some of us do that. And so I always try to have something that's a little bit nylon or, something synthetic so that it dries quickly. Excellent point, Jorge. All right, Rainer, what's this?
An extra bag for purchases. So good idea to bring a lightweight, foldable, collapsible bag, as we kind of said at the beginning, for picking up things when you travel. I don't consider myself a shopper when I travel, but I am acquiring things as I go along. For me in particular, I like to bring back food things that I can't get at home, or things that are really special to me that are kind of nostalgic and remind me of my travels, on a Tuesday night when I'm back home in the winter or something. So, I bring bottles of wine and pasta and rare types of, flour, and, I've got my potato chips in there. That's a bigger purchase there. Big blocks of cheese, a couple of Italian beers or something, some porcini mushrooms, and the Heinz ketchup, the Italian Heinz. It's sort of like the Mexican Coke of Italy, because I swear it tastes different, and also it was on sale for 99 cents. So there's things that you just got to have, and you got to have an extra bag to overflow bag to put them in. One way that I handle having an extra bag is, I said at the beginning that I sometimes travel with a bigger suitcase. Well, the dirty secret is that I often will pack everything that I need for my clothes and supplies and everything into a carry-on size, and then I'll put the carry-on size into a standard size. So I put my 22-inch into a 25-inch suitcase, Russian dolls. That way, when I land, now it depends on what kind of travel I'm doing here. If you're joining one of our tours, check in with your guide. But very often, it's going to vary from tour to tour, but very, very, very often we will have deep storage on our tours, where you can leave an extra bag on the bus, and that becomes a kind of storage bin for the things that you collect as you travel along, and you don't necessarily have to carry it into each hotel. So again, that'll vary, but that's another strategy for having a little extra space, that extra bag, whether it's a foldable collapsible bag or a whole extra suitcase. You can sometimes have that service, and then we tips and tricks here. So for years here, for years and years here, I've never been a big fan of the inflatable neck pillows. They don't work. You get a kink in your neck. They don't really fit well. So what I would do is I would go to a drugstore and buy an $8 foam neck collar, medical grade. Like I have whiplash, foam neck collar with Velcro here, and you look like you were in a car accident when you're wearing this thing. And that's my partner Julie there, and she took this photo, and she is laughing through this a couple years ago. She's laughing. You can see her laughing. She sent it to their friends, and they ridiculed me for my unfashionable neck collar. I've upgraded recently, and I do have this fancy thing. I don't know if I'm going to actually use this. We'll see. It is a better, much more supportive. It's like a giant neck, it's a lot more expensive, but it's like gives you some support when you're trying to sleep on the airplane. It's really comfortable. It works really well, I think. But the downside is, of course, you got to haul this thing around. It takes up space, and I'm not sure that it's worth it. So I'm still experimenting with these. Jury's still out. Trina?
All right. So one thing that I do is wait a minute, go back to the other one. I'm not onto the Ziploc bags yet. What I do is I will take a flat pillowcase, just a pillowcase with me, or I'll take a t-shirt and I'll wrap it around one of my packing cubes. And then I have my 3 days supply of clothing, and I just kind of make myself a pillow, and I always get a window seat and I just jam myself in there. And that's what I use as my pillow, because it's efficient for then loading it into the suitcase. Now, my husband's got a more creative solution, and one that might cause people distress on the plane when they see him. But he takes a scarf, not a big fat scarf, but like a scarf about this wide, 5. He takes it and wraps it around his head, like you would if you had wearing an eye mask. He takes it, wraps it around his head, and ties it to the back of his seat. And that keeps his head up, keeps it, it works like an eye mask, and it doesn't take up any space. So it doesn't bother the person behind you, because it's just a scarf, right? It's not taking up any room on the person behind. So yeah, if you see my husband on a plane going across an ocean, he's probably got his head strapped down to the back of his seat. That's his trick.
Big respect for Robert for that one. I will try that. I promise you. And
I know we need a photo of that, Julie. I forgot.
It takes very secure human beings to pull off some of these hacks, these travel hacks for being comfortable on the airplanes, which are not very comfortable.
I know. Okay.
All right.
So really quickly, Ziploc bags. Reiner and I talked about this. He brings just a couple. I tend to bring multi-size and several with me because you just don't know if you go out to a market and you want to buy some nuts, or you want to transport something, or I get containers of olive oil and then I have a big Ziploc bag, and then I wrap the olive oil in a Ziploc, I put it inside the Ziploc bag. I am a firm believer in Ziploc bags, and they don't take up any space in your suitcase. You might have an extra half of the sandwich that you don't want to eat, and then you take it with you and you have it on your walk or your picnic later, and you got a place to put it. So I just find Ziploc bags to be just travel essentials.
Agreed.
Okay.
They come in handy in all sorts of ways. For carrying home liquids, bottle of wine, olive oil, whatever the case may be, I like to go grocery shopping the night before I return home. Just fill whatever extra cargo space I have, and I'll pick up at the grocery store. You have to pay for your plastic bags. So I'll pick up however many I need, 10 plastic grocery bags, which are a bit bigger than the Ziploc bags that sandwich size that I bring with me on the way over for other things. But those grocery bags can be wrapped around a bottle of anything that's liquid. Of course, has to be checked, but you can even double wrap it if you want to be extra sure. And then you sort of wedge it into your suitcase wrapped around jeans and shoes and dirty laundry.
Right.
So great tip. I am a huge believer in the saving power of a good pair of earplugs. I mean, it can really save a night's sleep. If you're in a hotel that is right above the discotheque, or with their street noise, or even on the airplane, I find that these are very helpful for long flights of just sort of reducing the decibels that are going through your brain when you're trying to get sleep on the airplane. A lot of times people will say, oh, earplugs are uncomfortable. It's worth experimenting before you go on a trip. Even sort of putting these in halfway just to reduce noise. They won't eliminate noise, but just reduce the ongoing grinding noise of the airplane, I find to be super useful, and then take up virtually no space at all. Trina, earplugs?
I don't use them. I've never gotten used to them, but I do sleep with these things in my ears, and I am usually listening to some history podcast. It's just got this very soothing voice.
Puts you straight to sleep.
And that puts me to sleep. And
tour guide tip right there.
It drowns out the street noise. Althea looks like she has a question or a hand up. Althea, did you want to say something?
Oh, no, but I was going to say the BBC is very good.
Exactly. They have some great podcasts.
And I'm traveling as we speak. So,
right.
Yes.
Better than melatonin.
Yeah. Well,
right.
BBC is even better.
And Jorge recommends a podcast called Spanish Loops. Though, Jorge, I don't think I could listen to that to put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Because it'd be too interesting. I want to stay awake. I'm trying to go to sleep.
Yeah. It's a good way to stay awake all night. Yeah.
All right. Now here, Reiner gave me so much grief about this next tip. It just went on and on. Something that I am a big fan of, I'm always thinking about my clothes and maintaining them and keeping them clean and keeping them from getting damaged, because I'm living out of a suitcase and I've got a couple pairs of pants and a skirt, and I've got 4 shirts or whatever it is. So if anything happens to any of them, I'm upset, and everything goes with everything else. So one of the kind of tips that I have which I stumbled upon a couple years ago because I got a little hole in the knee of a pair of jeans, and I was about ready to go to Europe, and I was away from home, and then the jeans split, and then I had to go to the Levi's store in Italy. And when you buy pants over in Europe, oftentimes they don't have different, lengths. This is getting to the complication that women have that maybe men don't. And then I have to have them altered, and then I got to come back in a couple of days. And so now I just take a couple of patches with me, put them in my my toiletry bag. They're very thin. It's like taking a couple of Band-Aids, and they're iron-on patches that I can iron on if I get a little hole in a shirt or my jeans start to fray or something unforeseen happens. I just think that it's a great insurance policy. Rainer has other opinions about that, but before he gives you his other opinions, the other thing I want to bring up is this little bottle of magic. This is my stain remover, and I always carry around a little bottle of stain remover in my day bag in the pocket because I am eating red Italian spaghetti sauce and drinking red wine, and I'm eating olive oil, and that's going to end up on a shirt for sure. And then I have this little thing, and I put a drop on my shirt, and then I'll have to worry about, it staining one of my 4 shirts. So these are my laundry tips. Rainer, your comments about my patches?
This is quickly turning into an episode of Seinfeld, and I'm just trying to figure out which characters are going to also bring knee patches with them. I don't know. This is amazing. But Trina, serious comment. If these help ward off bad luck, if you bring them, then you won't have any problems. And so I'm all for, I hear you. I get it.
There you go.
You also have a luggage guy, so
I do.
props. Okay. All right. My little gadget tip is, I said I'm not into gadgets, but this is very gadgety. I am a big fan of the Lark water bottle. I use it all the time. Got to have a good water bottle. Stay hydrated. Super important to just stay healthy in general when you're traveling. It can be so easy to get dehydrated. And this water bottle has a UV light built into the top. So you fill it up with water, whatever your source is. Even sometimes bottled water these days, depending on where you are, it's going to be a little iffy. And then you push a button on the top, and the UV light will help purify the water. It's not 100%, but it's like 99-something% of eliminating biocontaminants. And yeah, it's a little pricey. So it's a $100 water bottle. So it's, it's gadgety. Okay. But gives me peace of mind when I travel. So
I would lose that. I just could not do it. You can see what I'm traveling with right now.
There you go. Tried and true. Super important to have a water bottle.
Yes, definitely. What is that, Rainer? What is that? I saw that.
Okay. So for those of you that want to really, make use of the allowable, airline weight for your luggage for your coming back home, as I do. One thing you can buy, it's a gadget. This is a handheld scale, and so it has. So basically, you latch this thing around your luggage handle, as seen in the photo, and then you lift it up off the ground, and there's a little screen. It tells you what the weight is of your suitcase, so that you know that you're within the limits of the airline. Now, these are popular. These are often recommended by travel people. I actually will recommend that you not have one of these, only because I've had good luck with forgetting them, because it's a one-time use usually for coming home. But I've had good luck with asking hotels at the reception if they have one of these, or just a simple scale. And more often than not, the hotels that are in big cities next to big airports where you might be flying home from, they'll have a scale, and you can just use that. But it's a handy thing to prepare your bags the night before you fly, and it avoids the hassle of trying to repack your bag at the airport, which is always that's never nice.
Embarrassing.
Yeah. All right.